All right, welcome to the RSP film room. Over here is the one and only Mark Schofield, and I am not, but we're going to look at some film anyway, and we're going to get a chance to look at one of the better quarterbacks in terms of, what their prospects look like in the college game, and that's one Justin Fields out of Ohio State. And we're going to get a chance to look at a number of games on his tape. We're going to start off with the Clemson game. We're going to get a chance to look at him against Indiana earlier in the season. And Mark's got some tape, I believe, of him against Washington, correct?
I've got Northwestern, Wisconsin, and Maryland. Depending on how much we get to.
Okay.
Because as the gentle observers know, Matt, you and I have a tendency to go a bit long.
We do.
We do. So we're going to try to get to what we can. If we can't get to everything, we can't get to everything. But we'll have some time to talk about Justin, it seems. So there's that.
There's that. And listen, when you tune into this station, there's always football. So that's a good thing to consider at this point. So Justin Fields, listen, transfer from Georgia due to the fact that Jake Fromm was kind of entrenched as the starter there, and ends up at Ohio State. This was his first year. And we're going to start off really with him in the thick of it here because I wanted to look at him against Clemson. I wanted to see him against a good athletic defense that was going to try and confuse him, that had some tape on him throughout the year, and just kind of say, all right, what's your toughest opponent? What happens with you in your first year as a starter here? We should expect to see some bad stuff as well as some good stuff. Again, first year starter. So that's what we should see. So right off the bat, let's take a look at this play here. This is a quick hitting seam route that you're going to see here, and you're going to see the safety up at top here kind of come and jump this play. And let's see if we can stop there we go. And you see it's nearly picked off right there. What I wanted to show on this play is really just a mechanical thing. You're going to watch him take a very that kind of drag step, that one-step drop. And it's maybe a little hard to see with this particular play, but I actually think, Mark, that on this particular play that we see it, and I'll see if they show a replay of it. I don't think they do on this particular one. They don't. So just trying to slow it down as much as possible. Let me get it right here, maybe at 0.25 of speed. I think his step's a little jerky. I think he can be a little smoother with this step. And I think because it's a little jerky, and you see kind of the bob up and down, I think he doesn't really see everything as clearly because he's not as smooth with what's going on. So that when he does kind of turn and look here to throw, and it looks like he's probably looking late anyhow and doesn't anticipate this safety to come and jump the play.
Yeah. I mean, this is, first off, I think it's important to point out, playing against Brent Venables and his 317, that's a tough challenge for most quarterbacks, Joe Burrow included. Like, Burrow had some difficulties with it early in the national championship game. This is a look at this rotation here. It's a rotation to a cover three, but it's not a standard cover three rotation because both safeties drop down as the the hook zone defenders, while you get your middle linebacker showing you what looks to be, you think, a Tampa 2 drop. But instead he's dropping to the middle of the field. I mean, this is not your everyday rotation you see in the secondary. And so the fact that he can still identify it and make the right decision is a good thing.
Yes.
The problem is it's a bit methodical and choppy, both in the footwork and how quickly he gets the ball out. The ball needs to come out faster on this one, number one.
Yeah.
It's the right read, but not quickly enough. And the footwork thing, his footwork is interesting in the sense that at times it's fluid, at times it's not. This is one of those times it's not. It gets to be a bit choppy, and he seems almost unsettled in the pocket here because of what he's seen up front. You've got this pressure look up front. He's expecting blitz. He's thinking about the pressure that's coming, and it impacts the footwork, and that impacts the play.
Right. And so just to review, here's your, if you're going to count the cover three, you got this outside corner, this outside corner at the bottom. linebacker in the middle. But it looks like it's too deep because you've got the split safeties here. And when you normally see cover 3, you normally see one safety high.
Yeah.
And you see then the 2 players played a little bit more outside shade at the corners. So, yeah, that's great. And it just tells you, I mean, with Justin Fields' footwork, you described it perfectly, because I also think his pacing is slow. Like, the evenness of his steps tend to be okay, but the pacing needs to be faster. And I think that when you see a slower pace or a herky-jerky kind of pace and an unevenness, it's also kind of a bit of a player who's thinking slower. So I'd say, on top of the fact that this was a complex type of look for what Fields is normally seen, he's also playing it rather slow. Now, he gets to the right conclusion, like you said. So that, the brain power's there. The acclimation to actually process it fast enough is not. Right. And that's where that's a little bit of a problem. All right, so let's move on here. Get ourselves a look over here with... All right, this is one that all right, red zone nearly picked off.
Yep.
And really, I mean, right off the bat, I mean, it's just very clear that when you look at this, that he sees he's going to have trail coverage here with number 14. I believe that's KJ Hill, who's going to be working across here. And he feels like, after feeling that pressure, that he can kind of step up and make the throw. His arm, shoulder gets pulled and grabbed. That kind of forces the ball to sail a little bit too. But the decision in the first place here, to me, is a little bit a little borders on that hero ball type of situation.
Yeah.
And
especially first and goal in this situation, you're up 10. It's early enough in the game. Like, again, he gets to the right conclusion, because out of this 3-by-1 with this coverage, you want to throw that over route.
Right.
But you don't need to risk a turnover in this situation to do it.
Right. And that's the thing with him, is like, when we're watching him, this is the biggest game of his career.
Yep.
It's against a big-time opponent, prime time, and you're up 10-0. Don't press. But this is a common trait of young superstar players.
Right.
So, again, you give him some... This is something you want to watch for, especially early in his career, especially early in his pro career, because he's going to... Yeah. But, what we're talking about here is the average first-round quarterback is going to go through this. He's not... I would say he's not unusually poised. I'd say he's just... he's a very talented player who needs a little bit more poise and a little bit quicker thinking.
Yep. I think that's accurate.
Okay. So moving on with that. See if we can find some good stuff here. This is a nice one.
Buckeyes fans are going to be like, wait a second here. Come on.
Hey, listen. I have multiple family members who are alumni of the Ohio State, Ohio State. So back off. So that's all I have to say.
There we go.
They're all big fans. And I grew up an Ohio State fan. But we're going to get to the, listen, if you're from Ohio and you profess to be a real football fan, then you can take some of the bad stuff with the good stuff. Yep. So we're going to do that. We have 3 points of pressure coming, basically 1, 2, and a third. What I really like here is his ability, and then a fourth with number 3. And this is something that I look for with quarterbacks, whether they run or they stay in the pocket, is can they avoid multiple points of pressure? And he does that quite nicely. Nice job with ball security.
Yeah.
Just a smooth play.
One of the things I love about him is the ball security, because in some of the clips that I've got, keyed up here, when he's moving around in the pocket, he has that left hand glued to the football as much as humanly possible. On this play, it can't be, because he's avoiding pressure in an athletic way. So rather than just risking it, watch how he tucks the ball.
Yeah, and look how he holds it with both hands even in this situation.
Both hands, but now when he has to avoid and uses that left hand for balance, he tucks the ball as he's doing that. And then here in the open field, he has the pressure to his right, which he feels, Then he switches the ball to the left hand.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a Daniel Jones 18 fumbles as a rookie situation coming down the track.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Big Blue Review must not be listening in on this.
Look, they are, because Ed gave me the assignment this offseason. First, it was to talk about his fumbles, which that's why I know 18 off the top of my head. And what he's got me doing right now is breaking down all 40 of his sacks. And so I had to just fit in that little dig at Ed, because if you're going to assign me to watch Daniel Jones's 40 sacks, I'm going to bring it up from time to time.
Can you define for Ed pocket deafness? Because I think he has. I think Daniel Jones is basically
I will say this
known as pocket deaf.
I will say this for Giants fans that may or may not be watching this right now. On the bright side, not all of the sacks were entirely Jones's fault.
That's true. Now, so this year, when Andrew Thomas comes in, we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although they're going to be playing with two rookie tackles. Two rookie tackles.
Yeah, that's true.
So although from watching Nate Solder last year, that might not be a bad thing.
Yeah. So maybe they'll buy 3 years for Daniel Jones. That's good. Yeah. So we'll see. We can already go for the next year. We'll see really how it pans out. So hey, he may have a good year.
He may have a good year.
He may very well.
Jones has been better. Not to turn this into the Daniel Jones podcast, he's been better than I thought he was going to be. So he's got that going for him. Which is nice.
I agree. Yeah. So we'll move forward here.
15 after the,
because this is a promising prospect as well.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you love about this? Because I have critiques.
Yeah, I again, he gets to the right decision, because this is basically a red zone cover 2 look. You've got this divide concept at the top of the screen. You've got post, you've got corner. He uses his eyes here extremely well to look at that corner route. You see what it does to that safety of that side. He actually falls because he's trying to drive on that corner route. So he creates the space for it. And I even like the placement of this throw, because he knows, okay, backside safety might come into play here. I've got to put this a little bit high, give my guy a chance to get it. So that's the stuff I like about it.
Okay. So I see that. And that makes a lot of sense, especially when you take a look at the defensive back in terms of, them falling down over here. The thing that bothers me is that he kind of sells it too long. I honestly think he sells it too long. And if he just reads the leverage as opposed to saying, I've got to really hammer this home, because, that's great. He made the guy fall. I just want him to recognize that he has position so he can let the ball go.
Yeah. I think that's entirely fair. It's, again, he gets to the right answer, but it takes him a bit longer to get there.
Right.
And, it's not a take-home exam. It's a timed exam.
Yes. And that timed exam results in this.
Yeah.
Whereas if he's a beat earlier, he doesn't have, who's that, Tanner Muse, or the linebacker here, making a play on the ball. And
that was the linebacker? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Venable. If you get your hands on a Venables playbook, kids, study it, because it's fun.
Yeah. So, again, this is advanced stuff. But this is the kind of stuff you're going to see in the NFL. So when we get to Justin Fields, what I didn't want to do is have a show where we're basically blowing wind in his sails like the entire hour, because we're going to have plenty of warm air to blow, and it's going to make this, this prospect float up a little bit more. But at the same time, if we're going to say this is what you're going to be looking at, get used to it, kid. He's got some acclimation to do. That's where I would put it. All right. So a little bit late on that, but again, a lot of the process is there. And if you have the process there, should get faster and faster as you see more of it. All right, so what do we have here? Oh, yes. I remember this play. I like this play. Very beautiful job of just being patient with the zone and being able to plug it into that nice little square or rectangle, depending on what your geometry eye looks like here. So
yeah, when I was watching him, he had some impressive throws against zone coverage where he, either read the rotation like we've talked about or dropped it where he needed to. And this is a concept we've talked about a lot. That is an accurate throw. Yep. If you leave that up, Isaiah Simmons, Superman, Black Panther, whatever you want to call it, the superhero that he is going to destroy your receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. On to the next. All right. So this one to me is all about the drop.
Yeah.
I think this is where the drop gets slow. Just kind of a sluggish thing. Those final steps. And then just kind of it looks like he steps in the bucket a little bit.
Yeah, because he's feeling that pressure. I mean, this is I love the reset, the quick, subtle climb and throw, but he didn't need to do it.
Yeah.
If he's quicker with the drop.
Yep. Because all of that, those last two steps, brings on all of this.
Yeah.
The ball should be out right now.
Yeah.
The ball should be basically over 24's head right now.
Yep.
The ball should basically be, at the 40, past the 40 right now. And this might have been a catch, or at least a lot closer.
And the other thing is, because he has to reset against pressure, he doesn't get as much on it, leaves it a bit to the inside.
Yes.
And even though it is late, it's also to the inside, and that's a chance for a pick.
Yeah. And again, it's a tough throw. This is opposite sideline. But again, this is what defense, NFL defense are going to go, all right, we're going to make you throw it to the opposite sideline with pressure in your face. Yep. You better get your feet, your feet better be quick here on the draw. You better be set right now. You better be set and throwing it. Set, wait a minute. Oh, see, he's about a second late. He's probably about a second late on that throw. And a second earlier, that's a completion.
The inches you need are all around us.
Yep. There you go. All right, so moving forward. And here I believe is another one. Yeah. So again, probably pushing it a little bit, at this point. But this is what you want to see. How's he going to respond to these types of situations? He comes over. He has a defensive back dropping. He sees that it looks like it was a safety or the linebacker here in the flat buzzing over. Takes a beat too long.
Yeah.
He's like, should I? Like, basically right here is I should.
Yeah.
Right there is should I? And when he gets a should I, the answer is always no.
Yeah. Remember how this game played out. I mean, you could see Clemson's sort of comeback coming.
Yeah.
And he's starting to force things here. It's that sort of quicksand moment as a quarterback where you're fighting, and you're making things worse.
Yeah. So, from the standpoint of, Justin Fields and where he has to go, it's like the process is there. There's good things out of this. Mark, you pointed out so well, is that the process is good. The speed of that processing is not.
Yeah.
And so, and you're going to see that even with some good, efforts. Like here we are against Indiana. We're going to see here, this is a double screen. You're going to see, first you're going to see the running back or the receiver here, whoever it is, I don't remember, come out to the flat here. He's going to have two blockers and the receiver against basically three defenders. And this is going to be fairly well blocked. And he sees that and he's like, you know what? Forget that. I'm going to throw the screen to the running back here and toss it over. And it's a really nice little toss with pressure in his face. And the running back gets the first down. So, Matt, what's the problem? Why are you picking on Justin Fields? And I'm sitting here thinking, because sometimes I want to see the guy process fast and take what's there.
Right.
And to me, I look at this and I'm like, you have more space. You have fewer defenders to deal with. It's blocked up. Give it to this guy. Why are you making the higher risk play?
Yep.
So
no, I think that's a great read of it. And when you're looking at things like this, we've said it a lot on these shows, don't make it harder on yourself.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he does here. And we've talked about the concept of process or results before as well. And this is a situation where the results, like you said, are great. The process and reach of the decision, it's a bit questionable.
Right. Again, you might say it's picky. We're nitpicking this, And fine, I like nitpicking because if I didn't, then I probably would have thought Baker Mayfield was the next Brett Favre. So,
Right.
you know,
Nitpicking matters when we're talking about 32 people on the planet doing a job.
exactly. Or we would have thought Lamar Jackson should have been a wide receiver
Right.
if we weren't nitpicking and actually looked close enough to go, oh, he's actually
Oh,
really good in the
he's
pocket.
a very good quarterback from the pocket, people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here we go. Moving forward, here's another one that find interesting. Nice little look off to the right. Really like that. Comes back to his left very well. Just an extra step.
Yep. It's that little extra bounce.
Yep. Again, it's just, and again, we're looking at game 3 as opposed to the complexity of Clemson. But again,
Right.
this is his 3rd start, so you're going to see. I think we can say we're going to see improvement with Justin Fields.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Without a doubt. And the fact that he can read and manipulate, the whole width of the field.
That's a very good thing to see from a guy making his 3rd start.
Yes.
I mean, again, there's parts to his process that sometimes we don't see from guys that have been starters for years. And so that part of it is great. It's just now marrying the process to the results with a bit more speed.
Yeah.
Like if we get to see Justin Fields on a college field again, that's what I'm going to be looking for.
And I sure hope we will, because he needs another year, if you ask me.
I think so too.
Yeah. He's good, but he needs another one. So what about this play here? All right. There we go. This is where, if I were going to make a comparison to Justin Fields that most people would take very unkindly, I would say right now he has, and I'm not going to say his entire game, but there are moments that are Jay Cutler-esque. Okay. And what I mean by that is he is very good at maneuvering the pocket.
Yes.
He finds his way out just like Jay Cutler could. And boy, did Jay Cutler deal with some offensive lines where he had to. And he's very good at being able to say, you know what? I can throw off my back foot. I can sling it underhand. I can sling it sidearm, 3/4. And sometimes I lean on that too much. Now, this should have been caught.
Yeah.
Okay? Should have been caught. But you're going to see this as a pattern with him, is where he just could take a little bit of extra care and make it a little easier for his receiver.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you highlighted this, because one of the plays, if we get to it, great. If not, I'll mention it now. He has a crossing route against Wisconsin in their regular season meeting where he actually does take a bit off of it. He actually does, it's one of those shallow drags where he takes a bit off of it. So there is some growth and development, at least in, timing and pace to some of those throws. But it is something to watch, because the majority of them are like what we just saw there, where he's slinging it and hoping his guys catch it rather than helping them catch it.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought up that Wisconsin play. I saw that one too.
Yeah, okay.
It's a good,
Okay,
it's totally, that's a great one. All right. Love the fact that, you see him from center. Love the fact that, he shows some ability to be able to deliver the ball, across the field here. And it's almost opposite. Well, he's in the middle of the field at this point. Could be a little more accurate.
Those, NFL, hash to sideline throws. I do like the half roll. Day does a good job, moving him out. He seems comfortable on that. Starts glancing in the general direction of Minnesota as a potential landing spot. I think this is part of his game, which I think is very strong right now.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, it's good to see him under center. I know we've started to move away from that being a requirement, a prerequisite to play in the National Football League. But some coaches will still look for that, because you want to have that toolkit in your playbook if you can. And it's nice that he can do this.
Yeah, especially when, the trend is to move away from that. But then then the trend is to be like, if you're going with the trend, that means your team probably is mediocre. You're behind. Yep. And when you look at the 49ers and you look at the Vikings, Cleveland, and you look at where Cleveland is going, maybe we need to drop from center after all. So there we go. All right. So the fact he can do that is some nice work there. All right, let me get rid of the crowd noise because we're not going to have any crowd noise during this pandemic.
No, might as well get used to
That's
the
right.
silence.
We're training. All right. I like this play.
Yep.
Love the fact that, you've kind of he reads the safety here. I think he reads the safety and where his inside defender is, knows he has a one-on-one early.
Yep.
Puts it up, and, it's well covered, but he puts
That's a catchable ball.
Yeah. It's only where it can be thrown, it can be caught, other than maybe outside shoulder, but again, you're talking about this is not where the route was designed for it to be. It's designed to be exactly where he placed it.
Yep. So. No, I think that's a great play and a great throw. And what I love about it is he also knows he has a free shot here.
Yeah.
So he's like, why am I going to throw this covered bracketed hitch route? I get a free shot on 3rd and 3. I'm going to take it. He's going to know we get the first down.
Yep. So very nicely done. Executed well all around on his behalf there. Let's see what we have on this particular one. Moving through. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. I love this throw.
Yeah, 52-yard throw from pitch to catch.
Yep.
And also you get that half roll type of deal with the throwback type of deal. And what I love is he looks to his right.
Yep.
So he holds that right, then comes back to his left like it's going to be the throwback. And that influences the safeties because there's 2 safeties dropping here, and they drop kind of late. Like they're both the safeties come inside.
Yep.
And they're down, and with that play fake, they're both downhill here. And so you have one receiver, a second receiver, they both get inside of their outside defenders here, and these safeties have no shot, but he just holds it just long enough so that he can come back and give that time.
No, I mean that's really well done from him there. Whenever you get a chance to sort of get those safeties, running in circles like he does here, you take advantage of it. Like you saw here, they both come downhill against the run, so he knows he has this.
And that just nice little late look, beautiful.
Yep. Yeah, no, that is pretty. And I know people might say, well, wait, he gives it a late look. He's a bit slow and deliberate here. You were just crushing him for being slow. It's different because he knows right now he can take his time.
Yeah.
He knows with both safeties down, I've got those 2 deep crossers. I've got a chance on this sort of Yankee concept, if that's what you want to call it, to take my time and deliver this shot. So I have the opportunity to sell this. I don't have guys playing top down.
Yep.
So I don't have to worry about it.
That's right. Thank you. That's an awesome point. So there we go. All right. So moving forward, a little more Indiana, and then we're gonna move on. All right. No more crowd noise. All right. I'm slow on the uptake here.
Look, it's training camp for all of us.
That's right. All right. Love this play too, because you essentially have him, looking to the middle of the field, feels that edge pressure. Nice job being able to slide. Knows that he has the comeback to the sideline. It takes his time.
Yeah, that's a great play. And again, that left hand glued to the football as he moves. Like the ball security, awareness there. Resets that left foot as he's throwing. That's pretty.
Is it just me, and this is just a dumb point, but I noticed this because I grew up watching Ohio State, but do all Ohio State quarterbacks look like they're slow and bulky even when they're not?
I do think that sort of Big Ten builds into whenever you're watching sort of an Ohio State quarterback. I mean, think about some of the guys that have gone through there. I mean, if you get back to Herb Street,
yeah,
I mean, you get that sort of, okay, these guys are going to be your battleship types, not your, Tommy Frazier's and Eric Crouches.
Yeah, I see this and I see Art Schlichter,
right,
or Tom Tupa even back in the day when Tom Tupa was a quarterback.
I forgot Tupa went to Ohio State.
Yeah. So I mean, it kind of makes me laugh because they all look like Haskins, right. and then you watch Fields run and you're like, yeah, he's nothing like Haskins.
Oh, no, nothing at all.
He's Haskins with advanced alien technology strapped to his backside. Yeah. So all right. So I think this is a nice two-play sequence because you see him give a little bit of the shoulder fake to the left. Now he's going to wait for this over route to work across. And with pressure in his face, he lets this ball go and it's just wide.
Yeah. I mean, again, you love the process here. Just the way he manipulates the defense from snap to finish, show and get into his third read, basically. You flash in the eyes there, look at the over, and then hit the second over. You'd like to see him hit it, obviously, but I don't have an issue with the placement so much because, again, he knows he has this over the top. There's nobody to drive down on it. So I'd rather him miss it there than come up short on this throw and get it picked.
I agree. And especially first and goal. It's
first
great.
And goal, yeah.
It's great red zone management, especially in light of what happens next.
Yeah.
He knows he had this. He knows that, well, I had to kind of probably threw it away. Probably that was probably a throwaway at that point. So here we go. We're going to get the next play. Now we're not going to have that little look off to the left, but he has kind of the same kind of over concept just with a different alignment. So they mix it up, but they go basically to the same type of deal. And it's perfect.
Yeah.
And there's pressure backside, which he probably feels a little bit. But nice, cool, and calm. Very next play, hits it perfectly. And so when I see a guy come back on the next play after he misses one and maybe even purposely misses it, and they obviously said, we had this guy wide open.
Right.
Let's do something similar, but just different enough to window dress it. And he nails it.
Yeah. No, that's a great response.
All right. So do we have any left? We have one left from the Indiana game. So let's see what we got here. Oh, just one of those average, beautiful, let's read the leverage, got the defenders back to the sideline. Right there, you should know. Yep. Also just opposite field. Right on time. Throws it as if it's a go route, basically, for the receiver to catch. That's beautiful.
That's a perfect throw.
Yeah. So we start kind of shaky.
Yeah.
But, yeah. All right. So moving forward, y'all don't need to see my Twitter. There we go. Let's see. So instead, let's move forward, and we have ourselves. What do we have here? Under center.
Under center, another little half roll like we saw earlier. Bit of a hitch. So, again, it's not as fast as it could be. I don't know if he's thinking maybe this guy's going to read this and go. And he wanted to be sure because, a lot of these routes will convert. And if the receiver thinks he can get over the top, he will. But again, comes back, nice settled throw with good placement.
Yeah, very well. Oh, I confused the Northwestern N with the Washington W for a minute because I didn't see it so quickly.
Yeah, purple and gold.
There we go.
But again, with that quick reset, he still gets the ball out with pretty good velocity.
Sure does. Right on a line.
Yeah.
And because there's no pressure on, he doesn't have to loft that ball at all.
Yeah.
So that's nice. All right. So we've got 3 defenders in the backfield here, pretty deep.
Yep. This is 3-man rush. Somehow gets home. But I love the athleticism and the play strength. Again, with that left hand glued to the ball.
Nice job looking to the left of the field and then working his way across to find the open man. Nice job. And I found that he's very good in unscripted situations.
Oh, extremely good. Like, so good when he has to create.
Yeah. So, yeah, this makes total sense. This is really nice to see. And you can see he waits to the last second. The confidence to wait. I always love when the quarterback can wait till a defender's within a step of him, be able to shake that.
And the balance, too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some pretty stuff right here. Again, that's the good side of Cutler, Jeff George.
Yep.
You know, he's got a little bit of that in him, and nothing wrong with that. Russell Wilson has a good bit of that in him.
Yep. This is just, when you're checking boxes, time and rhythm, it's not a full hash to sideline, but, left side of the field to the right sideline, on time and rhythm. One of those reads as a quarterback where you've got it before the snap, so you'll take it. As far as mechanics on him, pretty clean up top.
Yeah.
We've talked about the footwork a bit, but I do like sort of the whippy throw in motion. Now we get to Wisconsin. This is another great athletic play. This was the first game I actually watched of him. And this is a good mention to remind people the order in which you watch games can influence how you feel about a player. Because interestingly enough, when I got done studying him for this show, I was like, I'm just not sure about this guy. And, I'm heartened in a sense to see that you might have some similar reservations, but this was the first game I watched. It was in the rain. Jim Leonard, their DC, did a great job against him. So it did have an impact on how I viewed him overall, but this is another good job of him moving in the pocket and creating.
Yeah. This was my third game. Clemson was my first. And I came away, like, while it sounded harsh, I came away feeling okay about him, but had some questions, because you're going to give him the NFL test. Then I watched Indiana, and then I watched this game.
Yeah.
And this game, what was interesting too is I think he got sacked 5 times in this game.
Yep.
But I think 2 to 3 of them weren't even his fault. Like,
I had a lot of like no chance in my notes going through this game.
Yeah. But again, just very good of, looking at the field, and you can see he sees enough that, like, if you let it all play out, the flashes of what he sees are very accurate. So he's absorbed, because, I could sit here and explain to you that because this defender turns up late, because if we go back a little further, you're going to see the receiver, he's going to work into the flat. Now he's going to turn up and go upfield in a minute. You're going to see, there he is. He works across, then turns upfield. He's not going to see that.
Right.
But what he came off that earlier at the right time. He looks over here. He knows that he doesn't have a position to be able to do that either because of the defender in the way. He can't sit, just stand up there and try and throw. And instead, he does a good job of being able to find the open man. I mean, some guys would run out of bounds probably if they were 10 yards deeper, in these types of situations. So.
And I think we should point out that's Dobbins, right?
Yeah.
Who he throws to.
Yeah.
So if you're getting into a draft and you've got Dobbins staring you at the board as fantasy season comes across our ways here, that's a very good heady job by the running back because he's not initially running a go route.
I would agree as the back who's at the top of my board and in the RSP publication. I certainly endorse that one. I second that.
Ravens, when the Ravens, it's similar to when the Patriots make a move. When the Ravens make a move, keep an eye on it.
Yes.
And this play here, I like the subtle reset. The ball placement could be a little better, but I love that just little slide.
Yes.
That's a nice little play.
It is. And there's patience. Just the patience for him to clear that underneath window. I liked it too. Again, placement. He has some iffy placement issues.
Yeah. It's not perfect. And again, context. This was a rainy day. So, when you're watching this game, keep that in mind.
Right.
But I just do like that subtle little reset, drops the arm angle a bit. Yeah, again, the placement's not great, but I like the process.
Yeah. He's watching Jake Fromm a little bit there, maybe in camp last year, the year before.
And this is that shallow crosser I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Takes a little bit off of it. Wants to hit that rail concept to the left. It's covered, so checks it down to the shallow. Takes a bit off of it. Doesn't drill it in there.
Now, here's a question about this play for me, because you watch this outside receiver, and he's just like gone right here.
Yeah.
Like, and you see the leverage of the defender, and let's look like pre-snap. I mean, the defender's shaded over there, so I can understand if the defender's kind of shaded here, maybe you're like, I'm not going to test this deep unless it's like obvious.
Right.
And right here, like, to me, this looks fairly obvious though.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I would like to see him test this.
I'm wondering, this is might be one of those situations where you wonder if that's even an option, in the sense
Yes.
that they look to be working the rail or the swing, the wheel from the running back down to the shallow. It
Yeah.
looks to be that's his read here. And so he's not even thinking about that. That's just a clear out to sort of create space for the wheel route from the running back.
That
And
makes
when he
sense.
sees that, they stay over the top of that fairly well, then he's like, okay, well, I'll just come back to the shallow.
Right.
Now, that's an educated guess. If he's reading that go to wheel to shallow, then yeah, I think there's a window to make that throw.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't have it as an option, then I understand why he did what he did.
Yeah.
This is one of those moments where, we don't know everything.
Right.
I think if it's the situation you described, then yeah, we've got a question.
And the way I like to approach these, because I thought about that too, and I actually wrote it down in my notes when I was looking at this, was like, all right, so if you're just putting what the expectation is on the kid, it's most likely that, like what you said, like it's probably a two read type of look. But if you're like saying, all right, if we're gonna do the whole big network kind of like glossy, let's compare this guy to a Hall of Famer. Well,
Right.
if I'm gonna put it, if you want me to go there, then I'm gonna give you what you got in what we gave you in the first 5 minutes of the show, which is, this is what you need to do to be a Hall of Famer, and this is how far he has to go before he gets there. A guy like Brett Favre would probably look at this, and while he might not have been able to explain to you as eloquently as Mark what exactly happened, he would probably say, I just got to throw to the open man, and I just, I looked at this and I knew he was going to be open because I looked at this and I saw he had the inside release, and I was like, yeah, why not? All right, and ball would be out right now. But that's what made him special, and that's what we try and show in this, try and illustrate in this show, is that here's all the different ranges of things. We're going to show you why we can say positive things about Jeff George or Jay Cutler, despite the fact that the normal media thought is that you can't mention those guys without booing them or hating what they do. We're going to give you complete ideas about different aspects of people's games and what's good and what's not. So that's why we're in business.
Yeah.
All righty.
Now we get Maryland.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, I love this throw. I love this. And, it's not Venable's rotation here, but it's a 2 spun to a 1, and he reads it perfectly.
Yeah.
He reads it on time. He delivers this with velocity. Everybody's favorite concept, a variation of verts here.
Yeah.
I mean, the outside guys, they have their cap, so they check it off.
And pre-snap, you've got this guy over here at the far hash. This guy's leaning in, easy tell.
Yep.
And it's like, act on it, make big play out of it, and he does.
Yep.
He does exactly what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, that was a box check to see some of the rotation stuff. And he sees it here again, not the most complex, but look, it works.
Yep. So you can see where his baseline of like skills are when it comes to like what he processes fast. You can see the promise for where it can get more complex for him to process those more complex things. So it's just kind of a building blocks. Will he get there? We don't know.
We don't know. I think if he has a full year before the NFL, he will. I think I'm confident in saying that.
Yes.
If he opts out and enters the draft, there are more questions.
Yeah.
But this is another good play too, because this is a box I hadn't checked yet. This is an anticipation throw. Okay, you've got this little, New England calls this inch, where you got a hitch and an in route over it. He knows it's zone because you get pre-snap movement. They move this to empty. He knows that middle linebacker's open into 3 on the left, so it's going to create space for that in route. And he throws this before he crosses the linebacker.
Very well done. Yeah.
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 I mean, it's not the greatest anticipation throw. It's one of a few examples I saw, but it's there.
Yeah. You're seeing a player who basically everything you want from a quarterback is there to build on.
Yeah.
It's not all there yet. It's not all in its refined glory, but
Right.
but he definitely, what I found, and it's funny the way that that's just stated, because we'll look at this in a second. I just want to touch on a point. When I did my scouting report on a Mark so far, I have my two grading system. One is basically showing the broad spectrum of what they can do, and then the depth of how good they do it.
Right.
What I found was he scored much higher on the broad spectrum of what he could do. He was one of the two highest scorers so far that I've had. But in the depth of things, I liked Trey Lance better. I liked Trevor Lawrence better.
Yeah.
But certainly I saw the promise for where Justin Fields could go. It just wasn't on that level of depth yet.
And I'm sure we'll do it at the end. There's an interesting conversation to be had about those three guys we've watched so far, and how we would stack them.
Yeah. That was a nice little route by
this is a great route.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a great route. I mean, I always included it more for the route than the throw, but this is left hash, right sideline, on time, in rhythm, good placement.
That's kind of that hip shift crossover deal. Yeah. That's a sideline hustle oriented type of route right there. I'm sure that our man over at former Rutgers coach and your old Wesleyan fellow alum who played quarterback also would approve of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's nicely done. But we gave you a good bit of information here for an hour. We covered this pretty darn well. So
I mean, it's funny. The other night I had a chance. I was actually playing video games with Benjamin Solak and some others, Michael Kiss, the usual casting characters. And he had seen Benjamin did that I was studying Fields. And he was like, so what did you think of him? I'm like, he's okay. He's okay. I understand why there's excitement about him, but I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
And Ben was like, wait, why this guy? Ben was just losing his mind. And, I love that. But I think that part of it was, I think it was threefold. One was the expectations are set up that he might be quarterback one right now. The other thing is I watched Wisconsin first, and that sort of set the stage for how I felt about it. But three is, as we've covered, it's not quite there yet. In terms of the three guys that we've watched, the three guys everybody sort of assumes to be 1, 2, and 3, Lawrence, Lance, Fields. Is the potential there for him to be the best of the bunch from Fields? Yes. Is it a certainty? No. And that's the question mark for me. I mean, he might have the highest ceiling of the three guys, given his athleticism and given the foundation he has to build on. But it's not a sure thing that he's going to get there. And with Lawrence, look, I think Lawrence is special. I do. With Lance, I think that he's got a lot to build on as well. And I think it's more of I don't want to say a certainty, but I think there's a cleaner path for him to get close to that ceiling. Fields, I'm just not sure. And I think that's kind of how I look at these three guys. Do I think all three guys, if they enter this next draft, are first-round picks in the NFL? Yeah, I do. Would I be comfortable with Lance? I mean, with Fields coming off the board first to a team that needs him to start right away? No, I'm not there with that.
Yeah, I'm there with you. It's like, to me, Fields has the slickest package. He's like the slickest packaging. You're going to see some of the coolest highlight plays that are really going to get people really excited about him. But the depth of refinement in his game is just not quite there yet. And it could get there if you give him the normal development path. And I would be confident enough to project that if he was coming out 2 years from now, maybe 2 years from now, minimum. Trey Lance, I think Trey Lance is the type of guy that I'd like to see him play another year, because I think it could make him that much better. Yep. But I think the fundamental stuff that I've seen in place with his game, while I think it would make for a rougher acclimation for him, I think he'd get through it. I'd bet on him. Like I already have Cleveland fans angry with me on Twitter because I've mentioned I'd like to see Trey Lance go to the Cleveland Browns because of what we talked about in our last show, because of what he does so well. But I'm with you. I think Trevor Lawrence is probably the easiest pick of the three to make in terms of where he's at. Does he need another year? And I just want to touch upon this with you, because I was asked this question, our mutual friend Mike Shop over in Buffalo,
Yeah.
him and Bulldog, and they asked me about studying players and what happens if there's no college tape this year.
Right.
And this is my take, and I want to know if you agree. I think there's going to be much to be made about the fact that there isn't enough tape on some of these young guys and how they need how we need another year. And I think that's true for quarterback with what we just saw in a lot of cases. But with other positions, I got to tell you, there's some things that will improve, but I'm kind of at the point that it's like, if you're a junior and I have your junior tape, I'm not going to see much different than your senior tape, to be honest with you, with key exceptions. There's going to be key exceptions, but for the most part, I'm like, yeah, it would have been nice if you got to play. Would have been nicer that you got to play and stay healthy. Yeah. That'd be nicest of all. But honestly, there's a lot of times I look at tape and I'm like, your junior tape was good enough for me to see what I needed to see, and you didn't fix anything in your senior tape that was remarkable enough for me to say I'm elevating your grade now after your senior year.
And I think I in large part agree with that. I think not all reps are created equal, and at the quarterback position, another year is a ton of opportunity to work on what you might need to work on. Another year for wide receiver, you might get 30 targets,
You might run another in route that you didn't see before,
Yeah, okay. And you're okay. Instead of giving you 7 of the 9 basic routes, now he can give you 8.
Yep.
Okay.
And he's still getting hung up on the jam. Yeah, or if he isn't, it's because he learned a new move, but it's still not a good enough executed move to handle against a pro caliber defender.
Gilmore's and Davis Whites of the world. No. Yeah. But for quarterbacks, it certainly matters. And for some, look, are we going to think that much highly of Trevor Lawrence based on what he does in this year, based on what he did last year? No, maybe not. But for a guy like Fields, I think it will matter. For a guy like Kyle Trask, for a guy, some of the Brock Purdy, like another, those 2 guys look like they're going to be able to play. Yeah. These opportunities will matter. Tanner Morgan is a guy where I would have loved to see one more year of him, particularly without Tyler Johnson, without Rashad Bateman. Now, what is he going to do to elevate that offense? So, he's somebody I hope we get to see more college football. But overall, I think it matters more at quarterback because of the volume of opportunity that a full season creates for you.
Yeah. Well, listen, we certainly have had volume and quality when it comes to the opportunity to do shows with Mark Schofield of this kind. And we'll obviously get to do more, whether we have a season with the Big 12, SEC, and ACC or not. And so if you enjoy football, you don't have to completely mourn it. We're still going to be talking about it. We're still going to be reviewing these guys, and you'll still get a chance to learn and hopefully be entertained as well. And if at worst you just get a chance to be entertained rather than learn anything,
that's good too.
That's okay too. Even though we're not, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and do duck calls or anything. Even though
I can't even whistle. So I mean,
maybe I can. I don't know. There we go. But anyway, I do have to say,
I did not have Matt Waldman in a duck blind, virtual or real, on my 2020 bingo card.
See, there you go. You didn't, but see, I'm doing duck calls again. And I if you notice on my Instagram, as I'm doing these duck calls, you'll see there's a hawk that's literally perched up on the corner of my roof that I took a shot of. Well, that corner that he's perched on is actually where I'm practicing these duck calls in my office. So he's literally above my window waiting to pounce because he can hear the geese. He can hear the frickin' Canadian geese on occasion from the duck calls that I'm doing.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, listen, you can follow Mark Schofield at Mark Schofield. You can find him, obviously at US Today. I always do this wrong. Why do I say USA Today? U.S. Football, TD Wire, Touchdown Wire, the national joint that he's at, where he deserves every bit of the opportunity that he gets and more. You can find him there, and you can find the the SCO show, obviously covering the New England Patriots. You'll see him occasionally with the Philadelphia podcast, with Michael Kiss. Yeah,
fools of ourselves on
that
a
crazy
basis.
ass. I won't even say what what I really want to say, because it would be complimentary to him, but I can't. We don't have a language element on this show.
This portion of the show as a commercial for our podcast, Mike and I.
Yeah, that's right. That. There we go. He's a crazy app,
And
anyway.
he knows it.
He does. That's what we love about him. So there's that. You can find me at Matt Waldman RSP on Instagram. You can find me at Matt Waldman on Twitter. You can find the Rookie Scouting Portfolio, and I really encourage you. Listen, if you're a fantasy drafter, redraft, or dynasty, especially in this pandemic environment where most of the big name folks are going to be talking about late substitutions into the starting lineup and going, who the blank are these guys? Well, I can tell you who the blank these guys are, and give you a good bit of detail, and you'll be prepared so that you can kind of get the drop on your league with these guys when they show up, and you go and your league mates are like, I give up on this season. Well, you don't have to, because you'll know who Sewell Olananua is, and why he might be replacing Ezekiel Elliott, or whether it's, the kid from TCU as opposed to Pollard, because Pollard gets sick, or hopefully not, but something crazy happens like that. So hopefully, you guys stay safe out there. We're trying to do the best that we can. And if you like this show, especially this ending part, I guess, because this is the part that I think people will like the most. No, I'm kidding. But, if you liked it, click the bell, say you liked it, give us your feedback, and you guys have a great week.